Hi, this is Dan LaMontagne. It's Sunday, January 10th, 2010. Well, yesterday we had Barack Obama giving his presidential address. He was discussing rebuilding the American dream and how we can stimulate more job growth in healthcare, and especially by passing this new healthcare bill, we can stimulate job growth in healthcare, and how, although the road to recovery is going to be bumpy, we should see a bright future ahead. Well, I would argue that, first of all, this last month's jobs report was an indication of a bumpy economy. We lost 85,000 jobs, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, from December to January, which totally wipes out all of the gains that were seen in November, which the government was touting as being a sign of good things to come on the horizon. We wiped out all the 4,000 jobs we created in November, and then lost an additional 81,000 jobs. And what's worse about this jobs report is that it shows that most of the jobs that were lost were concentrated in our industry and manufacturing sectors. And this just shows that our economy isn't getting better, it's getting sicker. We're actually seeing job growth in sectors where we don't need labor, and job loss in areas where we do need labor. Like, for example, we have a trade deficit, and trade deficits are usually satisfied, well, they are satisfied by things that can be exported. So when the United States imports goods from another country, it needs to export goods to meet that, to meet the liabilities. You can't just export your dollars. You have to have something to back them up. So if somebody wants to buy something from your country, they have to you have to be able to export something to sort of make up for the fact that you gave them an IOU with your dollar. So what we're doing essentially is we're wiping out the exporting capacity of our country. We're destroying the jobs in the sectors where we can produce things and sell them to other countries and make up for our huge trade deficits. So basically what this is showing us is that what we're doing is we're creating more jobs in manufacturing and industry. We're losing more jobs, in manufacturing and industry, and we're creating jobs in healthcare and in temporary labor. And healthcare and temporary labor are service sector jobs. They're not jobs that can be used to export goods, as a whole. As a rule. Whereas, as a rule, manufacturing and industry are heavily concentrated in exporting goods and creating goods that can be exported. So, that's a real negative about the jobs report. And in addition to that, President Obama is also indicating, or has also said, that what we really need is to stimulate job growth to see our way through this economic recession, because we're seeing these unemployment numbers continue to rise. But what he's looking at is not the problem, he's looking at a symptom of the problem. And the problem when government tries to solve our problems is that they tend to make them worse, because they don't look at the root cause of the problem, they look at the part of the problem that they can fix that will help them get reelected. And, I don't see President Obama being a malicious politician who wants to see the United States fail and just wants to get reelected, but what he's doing is going to cause that very result. What we have is we have unemployment because we have these trade deficits and because we have misallocation of labor. It's not because we don't have jobs, it's because our jobs are unproductive. Our jobs are not competitive. We have other countries that are far more competitive at producing things than we are. And what we're doing is, instead of trying to make it easier for our companies to manufacture competitively, we're making them harder to manufacture competitively. We're increasing regulations, which are causing things to be more expensive, causing production to become more expensive. We're mandating universal health care, which is causing employers to have to charge their customers more money for their goods. We're mandating all sorts of things that are going to tack on costs and make it prohibitively expensive for anyone who wants to purchase anything from United States companies. So we're not getting better, we're getting worse. And, we shouldn't just look at the jobs report and say, we need jobs for the sake of jobs. Everybody in the Soviet Union had a job, and all the slaves, in Abraham Lincoln's day had a job, but they weren't happy. Why weren't they happy? Well, they weren't happy because they couldn't buy anything with the fruits of their labor. They couldn't do anything to, they were poor. When they came home for the day, they'd worked, 8, 10, 12 hours, and they had nothing to show for it. They had a paycheck, but their paycheck couldn't buy them anything. And the reason it doesn't buy anything in an economy where, in this case of the Soviet Union, for example, which was a socialist country, which was where the government was trying to decide where labor should be allocated, the reason it doesn't work is that government makes non-competitive jobs. And so when those jobs produce goods, they produce them at a very high cost. And so when you work, you have to pay most of your paycheck just to get something which would seem to be, really cheap, to us today. So what we're doing is we're basically destroying the purchasing power of our currency, and we're creating a worse economic future by doing what we're doing. Again, Obama is trying to say that, we're headed in the right path, but again, we're really not. We're just, creating jobs for the sake of creating jobs. We're creating make work. We have a lot of, construction projects, you're hearing about in Massachusetts, for example, where they're, building, these, $20,000 signs on the side of the highway, saying that this highway fund project was, funded by, the Recovery Act, and it's basically trying to show all of the, the money that's being spent on, good projects around the United States. But they spend $10,000 on a sign. This just shows the kind of thing that government does. Government doesn't know how to allocate resources properly because it doesn't value the dollars that it's spending. It values them, but it doesn't value them. It doesn't, it doesn't depend on, its job does not depend on the fact that these dollars are spent correctly. If an employer spends his money, poorly, he's going to lose profits. And when he loses profits, he's going to go out of business eventually if he doesn't change his act. But with government, they can lose, profit. They can make a loss every year. The government is touting, the fact that we are going to have trillions of dollars in deficits for the next, as far as the eye can see. And they're saying that, well, at least we're creating jobs. Well, any employer in the United States that said, well, I'm creating all these jobs, but I'm losing, thousands of dollars, would not be able to sustain that. And why is the government any different? And the answer is it's not. The government is not any different. The United States, is collectively destroying itself by allowing the government to usurp money from productive areas of society and to give them to not productive areas of society. Anyway, I just wanted to shed light on these current events, and I hope you have a good day.